What's up, people? It's your boy the Kryptonian Satan here, bringing you a review for One Piece chapter 328. And I'm gonna start with the ending because Nami's face, the girl is pissed, man. She tells Usopp, don't worry about it. She's going after the Franky family, and I absolutely loved it. And this was one of those chapters, oddly enough, there wasn't a lot of comedy in it, but there was so much serious material in this chapter that for me, it felt very uncharacteristic for Oda so far to not have some humor to balance out the seriousness of this chapter, because when it opens up, we find out that the merry-go can no longer be fixed. They're building on what happened at the end of the last volume, and the explanation makes a lot of sense. What we're told is that the kneel of the ship, which is basically the foundation of it, where everything else is built from, is cracked so severely that they're even wondering how Luffy and the others even got to the island, which is why Luffy says, you're telling me to buy a new ship because you're trying to get over on me. And for once, I'm thinking Luffy might have a point on this. I mean, I know the ship's been through a whole hell of a lot. Reverse Mountain, the whole thing that gets to Skypiea. I mean, there's a lot. So I could definitely see why Luffy would think it was still going. But at the same time, logic would say that ship has taken a beating, but you're in the lion's den asking for meat. That's how I look at it. I mean, these guys, they fix ships, they build ships, you have money. It would seem like to me they would try to get over on you, though Iceberg does seem like a pretty chill dude, if you will. So I'm not too sure where I'm leaning with on this. I think this is one of those times where you have to question the reliability of the narrator. And so in this case, the narrator would be Rob Lucci and just Iceberg and Khalifa, all of them. Though, with that being said, I think Iceberg has built up a little bit of credibility with us, the readers, because he tells Luffy, hey, you and Nami need to get out of here. That's a government official that's coming. And before I get to that, I want to go a little further on the explanation that he gave. And he says it's impossible to build the merry-go back the way it is. And even if we do a full restoration, build a mimic ship, what's going to end up happening is, since you've been on that ship, you're going to know the differences. No two ships are the same. And the way he goes into it, he says, no two trees are the same. They might be the same type of tree, but they're different trees. That makes a lot of sense. That's like if you look at people when they have twins. You know, there's this connection, you know, with twins, like in middle school. I had two twins in one of my classes, and with one of them, I'm talking to one of the girls and everything. I'm trying to get a number, right? And the thing about it was as we were talking, I was asking, so what's it like to have a twin? And she couldn't stand her sister. She couldn't stand her. And you would think, because of all the stuff you see on TV and everything, like, twins were best friends. And it's just like, no, they have their own personalities and their own quirks. And so it's the same thing with trees. It might be a similar tree, and you could get the exact same wood that was used to build a merry-go, but because it's different, there's going to be slight changes that you can't really account for, but you yourself would notice them. And so I thought that was very interesting how Oda incorporated that into it. And it really makes me respect more about pirate ships now. Now I can kind of see why we look at those pirate movies and stuff, why the ship feels like it's almost like a pregnant woman taking care of her child that's, you know, blooming inside of her. I can understand it now. I never really understood why pirates were so protective over their ship. I just figured, like, hey, you lose your ship, you go get another one, you set sail, go pillage, you know, loot, whatever it is that you do. If you're a Viking, you pillage. If you're a pirate, you steal loot, you shoot cannonballs. You know, Luffy and them, they take drinks. Like, I was just thinking that's all it was. This makes sense now, so I have total appreciation. I've told you guys before, I'm not the biggest fan of pirate stories, so I'm very surprised I'm enjoying One Piece like this, and I'm learning a lot as I'm reading, so that was cool to kind of, you know, get that bit of information. Now, when you get to the whole thing with the government official that's coming, this is good, because I'm really wondering, again, is this going to be some type of way of kind of building the Navy in? Because the guy obviously knows there's pirates there, because he says, I smell pirates. And it's just like, dog, what kind of nose do you have? Like, I think he was just kind of trolling, but at the same time, when I say trolling, I'm saying I think he knows there are pirates there. And obviously, because they don't mind selling to whoever, that's probably the case. And you got the Franky family, they basically fuck pirates up and take their ship. So it's a foregone conclusion that you probably got pirates there. But what I was meaning by that is I think he has specific information that there are some high bounty pirates uh, in this area. So I think that's why he was saying that. Again, this is the world government. Aokiji got a lot of information on the Straw Hat Pirates, and they didn't even know it. So I wouldn't be surprised right now. Now, another thing, speaking of Aokiji, is Aokiji planted the seeds in there, and we see them kind of blooming because Sanji's going with Chopper, and Chopper's like, "Oh, I was too busy reading, and I didn't know she was gone." And Sanji was like, "I thought maybe that masked person was you in human form," and he openly states, "I have a really bad feeling about this," which I guess this would be the humor. It didn't really resonate for me because it was such a serious situation. But Chopper says, "Well, I don't see what's wrong with you." And Sanji says, "I'm not saying I physically feel sick." And it's one of those things where, Chopper's still learning. So when you say, "Oh man, I feel real sick," or "I bet he's sick," Chopper doesn't understand those expressions. And reading that, it really made me think about just talking to some of the foreign friends I have. Like, I got a friend from the Philippines, and he's an older gentleman, but the thing is when I talk to him, sometimes I have to explain different euphemisms and expressions to him because otherwise it kind of goes over his head. And so that will be one of those right there where, oh, literally I've told him, like, "Man, I bet he's so sick right now." And he's like, "What do you mean sick?" And I have to explain, like, "No, it's just a feeling, like that feeling you get when you really messed up. Like, that's what I mean by that." So that's Sanji. That's a nice conversation. I would have liked to see Sanji explaining a little bit, to see little teaching moments. But for the seriousness and the gravity of this chapter, I can understand why you don't do that. Again, I feel it's a little uncharacteristic to not have more humor to kind of balance out. But because of what Oda's building up with Nico Robin, I can definitely ride with it because I'm very curious right now. I can only imagine how that was like when it was on a weekly basis. Like, is Nico Robin betraying us? Again, I think it's the Arlong thing. I think there's somebody in our past that's pulling strings, and we're going to get some type of connection. Now, that brings me back to the ending of this chapter when Nami is rushing after Luffy because Luffy's going for the Franky family because they've taken 200 million berries and they need their money in order to buy a new ship because they got the catalog to look through for secondhand stuff and maybe a new ship. And Luffy, somehow, someway, Luffy's going to get that ship fixed the way that he had it. I don't know how, but he's a stubborn asshole, so I could definitely see it. And what I thought was really cool was how you see Usopp just spread out, and for a moment I was a little taken back because the way he was, drawn, and you got like the hair. For a moment I thought the hair was blood, and I was like, they fucked Usopp up. Like, what the hell just happened, And they did do a pretty good number on Usopp, and he's crying, and the pride's there. And I like how Oda had that in there because Usopp says, "I was weak, I couldn't do anything. We needed that money to fix the merry-go." And because he doesn't know that they can't actually fix the ship, this is one of those moments where, as a reader, you're getting exactly what the writer wants. When writers do this, what they try and do, they present information to the readers that not everyone in the story knows. So when you get situations like this, it really just tugs at the heartstrings a little bit because you know that, oh, they don't know what's going on. What are they gonna do when they find out? Now you're getting more and more invested in the story. So that was cool, and that kind of plays into Nami's reaction because Nami knows how special that ship is. So that was cool for that bit there. And I also like, again, it's that's the ship that Kaya gave him. There's a special connection with Usopp there. I mean, it's really, really nice to see how Oda's working all these different things. And one of the things I like about a lot of you guys who comment is, once I started pointing out how, oh, little small things here, and if you pay attention to this, or little small subtle movements, that's what explains what's getting ready to happen later on. And a lot of you guys like, "Man, I didn't pay attention to that when I first read." And after I'm watching your videos and I'm already caught up with the story, and I look at what you point out, I definitely see why Oda did what he did, and that's going to come up later on. And it's just little small things. Like, I really feel like, not to say like I have a big ego, but I'm just gonna call it like I see it. what I see with a lot of the series that I'm caught up with that I read, one of the things I see is I'll be looking at something and I'll be going, how come nobody's talking about this? And it's because everyone just gets so caught up in the actual story that's going on that they miss all the small things and they automatically cry bullshit. Like, that's an ass pull. I don't get why that happened. You know, one of the things happened in Dragon Ball Super is everyone was like, I can't believe Zeno blew up the multiverse in Trunks' timeline. How could he do that? And I just looked at it like, I predicted this shit like 2 months ago. And you guys said I was fucking crazy. I had to block a lot of comments because people said, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was going, well, from like the moment Goku met the Omni King, there were little small signs there. And then like in the 2 episodes before that, when we saw the time rings, there were just little things pointed out to where that timeline Trunks is from would have to be erased. And I just looked at the small stuff and the little in-between dialogues, and I came up with my conclusion, did 2 videos about it, and ended up being fucking right and calling it down to the T. The only thing I didn't have was Zamasu merging with Goku Black or the other Zamasu, but other than that, I nailed it. And so I'm saying that to say there's a little small stuff going on here where I definitely think there's going to be, I'm going to go a step further. I think there's definitely something going on with Nico Robin. There was a build-up for it, but I definitely think something's going on with Luffy and Usopp. I don't know exactly what, but I'm looking at this and I think it's going to have something to do with the merry-go. Because, again, Luffy, that ship was given to him. Don't get me wrong. That ship was given to him. That's his ship. But at the same time, that's really Usopp's ship. Because if Luffy isn't there with Usopp, Kaya's not giving him that ship. Like, that was more so like, oh, okay, you know, I know Usopp's going to go and, you know, he's going to be a brave warrior over the sea. Whatever. But he's going to be a brave warrior over the sea. I mean, Usopp's done his thing. You know, Kaya, like, I get it. So I think that when Usopp finally finds out what's going on, there's going to be a disagreement on it. I don't think they're going to mix up blows or anything. I do think that something's going to happen where there's going to be some conflict between them. And I'm going to drop off my chapter question right here. What were your thoughts when you found out that the reason they couldn't fix the merry-go is because it's basically two different types of lumber, and even if they build it back up, it'll be the subtle things that it won't be the same experience. What was your thought? And if you were the captain, what would you do? Would you have another ship built, or would you stubbornly go at it like Luffy and say, just fix my damn ship? Which one would you do? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.